This House set the date for leaving as the 29th of March, and as my right honourable friend, the member for Wokingham, pointed out, 80% of the members of this House were elected on a manifesto commitment to honour the result of the referendum, not something we should take lightly. Now, Mr. Speaker, I accept that many of those who seek a delay to Brexit have a range of motives and I think an ounce of civility.
Okay, we're watching live here, folks, and Daily Brexit coming up in 8 minutes' time on YouTube only, yeah, because it looks as though I've been blocked from Facebook. Well, I have been blocked. I don't know why, but anyway, it's only going out on YouTube, so I'll sort out a link, and I would appreciate it if people could share it. I really would. I'm going to find the link now. In the meantime, this is Commons Live. If you're watching an archive version, top of the show is in about 8 minutes' time.
If we took that course. Now, many of us, Mr. Speaker, have made a number of compromises to be able to support the Prime Minister's agreement. And I pay tribute to the Prime Minister's tenacity and simple good manners in the way that she has dealt with the House. But if we are to leave the European Union in line with the instruction, it's a menu with limited options. We either leave with a deal, and the only deal available is the Prime Minister's deal at the present time, or we leave with no deal, with unavoidable consequences. I'm not giving way. The alternative is to revoke Article 50 and have no Brexit at all, with unavoidable and unforeseeable consequences. Now, this motion, Mr. Speaker, focuses on the date of the 29th of March. At that point, we either have to leave with a deal in line with Article 50, or leave with no deal for which the risks have been set out, or if we choose neither of these, then we have to have an extension of Article 50, either to make administrative changes for a deal that may already have been negotiated, or to simply have an extension when we don't know what the point will necessarily be. And let me say on this extension, it is not in our gift unilaterally to grant such an extension. Secondly, it requires unanimity among all 27 other European countries. And thirdly, we cannot know what price might be extracted from the United Kingdom for that extension. It is not an easy option for the House or the country to take. Now, what are the alternatives to the government's policy? We were told at the outset of the debate by the Shadow Brexit Secretary that Labour have repeatedly warned us about X, Y and Z. Nothing could be further from the truth. We've had nothing but inconsistency from the Labour front bench. The Labour leader didn't want another referendum. Now he does want another referendum, despite the fact the Shadow Foreign Secretary says it's telling Labour voters they're stupid. The Shadow Brexit Secretary wants a referendum but won't put down an amendment to say that it can happen. Labour said that they wanted to end free movement of people. Now they want to be part of the single market all over again. They said they want an independent trade policy, but what they have is simply legally impossible because the European Union rules do not allow a third country to have an influence on EU trade policy. Now, Mr. Speaker.
Hey, Robin, how are you? We're streaming, right, sir. I do apologise, yeah. I've been trying to sort out Facebook. Have you had problems too, you said, with uploading that video?
Yeah, look, everybody's got problems with Facebook. There's a nationwide outage at the moment.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was just me. I was getting all conspiracy theorist.
We're going on. We're going out on
Facebook. YouTube. We're going on YouTube. So look, we need to share this, folks. Hold on, I'll sort out the link and I'll put it on YouTube and I'll send it to you, Robin. One sec. So this is live in the Commons. There, it's Fox.
This is a country with exports at record levels. This is a country which last...
Going to be asking you about Mr. Fox today,
investment
Robin.
Fell 40%. It went up 20% in the United Kingdom. A country with employment at an all-time high. More consecutive quarters of growth than any other G7 country. A country which is producing these results under good Conservative management. And nor, Mr. Speaker, did I understand the picture painted about the deals already, the preparations already made for no deal, because we have spent a great deal of time, and our civil service has spent a great deal of time on the mitigations. Pharmaceutical companies, I'm not taking intervention. pharmaceutical companies ensuring adequate stocks, increased air freight capacity. We've set our new tariff policies for day one, liberalising our economy so that 87% of our imports will be tariff-free, setting up a trade remedies authority to protect our steel industry and our ceramics. And the EU has also made its own preparations. We need to keep some balance in this debate, Mr. Speaker.
Hark at that, eh? Hark at that. Robin, have you ever known anything like this? This is just, sounds more like Wimbledon.
Yes. Can you hear me all right, Ollie?
Yeah, you sound good, sir.
The member for Rushcliffe.
You've got no echo, have you?
No, are we live now?
Good. We're streaming. We're streaming. Another 3 minutes to the top of the show. Just this is
does not wish to take the intervention.
Mr. Speaker, the Father of the House already had longer time to make his contributions than I've had today. I want to answer the direct question asked of me earlier. I want to answer the direct question asked of the Right Honourable Member for Normanton, Pontefract and Castleford. She asked a very direct question. Is the result of this vote that the default position is that we will not leave the EU on the 29th of March without a withdrawal agreement? That is the result of the motion that we're debating tonight. But I have to say to the Right Honourable Lady that the only way to take no deal off the table in the longer term is to have a negotiated deal, unless we are to revoke Article 50 and have no Brexit. There is no worse outcome for this House and this country and our democracy than to have no Brexit. We have been given a clear instruction by the people of Britain. In the days ahead, we in this House must decide who in our democracy are the masters and who are the servants.
Quite right.
We heard from the Honourable Lady, the member for Bath, what can only be described as a diatribe about the will of the people, which she derided. I happen to believe that when this House contracts out its sovereignty on an issue, which we did on the European Union, and we tell the people of Britain that we will accept what decision they take, we are honour and duty bound to take that decision. And when she says the will of the people doesn't matter, it may not matter to the Liberal Democrats, it does to the Conservative Party. For me, Mr. Speaker, this is ultimately a decision about our democratic values.
Order. I fear it's more a point of frustration. No impropriety. Order. I have said she may be irritated, but the Right Honourable Gentleman is not giving way. Now is not a time for points of order. Later, if she wants to do so, I'll take it. Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, for me, what we are engaged in is the most important democratic debate in this country's history. The British people have given our Parliament a clear instruction. It is time for us to determine who is the boss.
Order. Under the order of the House of today, I must now put the questions necessary to dispose of proceedings on the motion. We begin with Amendment A in the name of the Right Honourable Lady, the member for Meriden, who has since advised me and equally, or more importantly, the House, that she does not wish to move her amendment. However, thank her for her courtesy.
That's the Spellman amendment.
However, I am advised that her co-signatory, it's in the ownership of the House.
She's had her arm twisted. We'll come on to that.
Pontefract Castleford does. Is that
I do welcome the assurances that the Minister said, but they were slightly confusing, so I will move formally so there is some clarity.
She wishes. Don't tell me it's not moved. I know perfectly well what I'm doing. The amendment is in the ownership of the House. The Right Honourable Lady perfectly properly has decided she doesn't wish to move it. Another member who signed it does. It's really a very simple point for an experienced parliamentarian. The question is that Amendment A be made. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, no.
Division! Oh, yeah. Hey folks! Good evening, good people! Welcome to the Daily Division! Yeah, holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy! I'm Olly Connelly, thanks for turning up. And now, D-Day! D-Day! Yesterday, the UK Parliament refused vassalage. The question is today, will it refuse democracy? The Bruges Group's Robin Horsley from the Great Brexit Debate assesses the vote live here and now. And we're going out on YouTube, but not Facebook tonight. I don't think anybody's going on Facebook tonight from what I've heard. Don't know what's going on with them. I thought it was me, but apparently it's all sorts. So it wasn't that dodgy post about the Prime Minister I put out earlier. Or the one about Ken Clark. Maybe it was the one about Burko. Anyway, right, okay, blimey. Yeah, so it is a big day. It's a massive day. Robin Horsley, roll call, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ollie. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, no, very good. Thank you. Now, you put together a bit of a video, which is a nice way to lead into the show. You don't by any chance have another link for it, do you, Kai, so I can play it?
I do. Hang on just a second.
Good news. I mean, they've gone in for a division. I'm always struggling to keep up with what amendment corresponds to what a bit of treachery. Is this the amendment that we're waiting for? Is this the government's motion, rather?
This is the Spellman amendment.
I thought they weren't going to vote on that. Well,
no. What happened earlier on today? I'm just.
You better explain what the Spellman amendment is, and it's compare it to this sort of so-called no to no deal amendment that Theresa May's put forward. Please.
I will, happy. Can I? I've just sent you that link, Ollie. Have you got that?
Good man.
Skype?
Good man. I'll have a look. Thank you.
Okay, you got that. Right. So, complicated. So the motion this evening is from the government to say that no deal is. Well, you'll have to watch the video to see exactly the complexity of it, because we're really going to have to unpick that. But the Spellman amendment basically is an amendment to the motion this evening, which rejects no deal under any circumstances. Now, the motion doesn't actually say that. The motion, as you'll see from the clip, is slightly different. So the implication of the motion without that amendment is slightly different. Now, this afternoon, Caroline Spellman and Jack Dromey on the Labour side, so Caroline Spellman's a Conservative member, Remainer, they attempted to withdraw the amendment. However, once an amendment has been submitted, and the amendments are normally signed by a whole number of people, once the Speaker has accepted the amendment, unless all of those people who signed the amendment withdraw from it, so don't want to pursue the amendment, it will still go ahead. And that is what's just happened. So the Speaker, a second before you went live, I think, just shouted, "Clear the lobbies," and all the MPs run out of the chamber and go into the two lobbies, either the yes or the no lobby, the ayes or the nays, and they're now voting for that amendment. So that has... Now, it's worth bearing in mind that the whole of this stuff tonight, this motion, is non-binding. Yes. It doesn't actually bind the government, and it's a bit of a it sort of scrambles your brain what's going on this evening. So, yeah, you might want to just run that video before they come back after that vote.
Yes, quite right. Okay, I've copied the link, and I've got you. Hopefully, I've got your video there as well. Right. Yeah, it did throw me a little bit today, I have to say, this Facebook thing. But this is one of the reasons why it's so important to be simulcasting for all of us folks that are trying to spread awareness, and I'm very pleased to be using this XSplit software thing. There's a free trial for 3 months, and I'm really chuffed, actually. It's really, really good, and it's really helped today to keep the show on the road. Okay, this is the wrap that Robin very kindly put together earlier today on the events going on right now. I need to sort out the audio. Hold on a sec. Hold on. That's right. Okay. Oh, blimey. Robin's wrap. Here we go.
Mr. Secretary Michael Gove.
The motion which stands in my right honourable friend the Prime Minister's name and which I will vote for this evening makes it clear that we do not believe that we should leave on March the 29th without a withdrawal agreement. But it does not take the option of no deal off the table, because as I underlined earlier, the only way in which that can be done comprehensively is either through revocation or agreement to a deal.
The cat's now out of the bag, Mr. Speaker. On his own admission, this motion does not take no deal off the table.
Why?
Now, Mr. Speaker, I'll be guided by you, but my understanding was that at the dispatch box, this House was given a guarantee that today we would have the opportunity to take no deal off the table. But this House will be denied the chance to take no deal off the table. That's the truth of it, isn't it?
Just to clarify briefly, the point was concerning the Right Honourable Member Rockstow. Can the Minister confirm it is the government's position that we are ruling out leaving on March the 29th with absolutely no arrangements at all?
The point is correct. The motion commits the government not to leave on the March the 29th without a withdrawal agreement. I hope that is clear and unambiguous. But the motion also makes clear that the default position in law is that we do leave the European Union unless we can secure assent to a withdrawal agreement.
It's very obvious to me that following his honourable friend's exchanges with the Secretary of State, the government are intent on bringing the withdrawal agreement back for yet another go. Can I make a small prediction? They will go to the European Council on the 20th/21st. They will plead for some additional concession, however small. They will come back to the UK, rerun Maastricht, declare game, set and match, and then try and persuade the House to vote for it. I bet the third meaningful vote will be on Tuesday, the 26th of March. Will you take my bet?
Order. Oh, I tell you, what a get that. They're coming back. They're coming back. Okay, Robin, we got a lot to chew over there tonight. Yeah.
Well,
they're going to be a few minutes. They're going to be a few minutes. So the top, yeah, exactly. The top thing, I suppose, was this. What exactly is this no to no deal? Is it no to no? They are saying various MPs and what have you. David Morris on PM earlier said it was very ambiguous. He didn't really understand what he was voting for.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what hopefully that clip kind of shows, because Anna Soubry, the beast of Broxtow, kind of made the point there that she was under the impression that the vote tonight, if it passed, would take no deal off the table. And the point that Michael Gove was making was, no, it wouldn't. It would just confirm that the government would attempt to leave with a withdrawal agreement. Now, that's why I called that little clip Gove's meaningless vote, because, well, that's kind of the position anyway, isn't it? The government is attempting to put through the withdrawal agreement.
So it sounds as though they're trying to please both camps. There are morons in cabinet, so they don't have a massive cabinet split, or another one rather, and the ERG.
Yeah, that's right. They're trying to hold it together, because if the government lose, I think it's five 5 MPs or the DUP, then they don't have a government anymore.
Hold on a sec. You broke up there. You broke up there. If they lose what? They don't have a government?
So if they lose 5 Conservative MPs or
Right.
the DUP, so 5 in total, then they don't have a government anymore.
That's right.
They can't govern. They don't have a majority. So they're trying to, as carefully as possible, hold everybody together. And this vote this evening has been exposed. It was exposed by Anna Soubry, particularly. I mean, what Anna Soubry exposed was the fact that she had thought that it took no deal off the table, and clearly it doesn't. It's not actually in anybody's power to completely take no deal off the table.
So this is the ultimate meaningless vote.
Well, that's why I called it that, because what it amounts to
Sorry,
is
so you did. Well done. Sorry.
what Mark... Yeah, that's right. So Mark Francois, who is deputy chair of the ERG,
Yes.
the point he made was that he said, well, basically it means you're going to come back again to the House with the same deal, or maybe the EU will negotiate some modifications. And he was predicting, he put, well, if you see it, I had to cut down that clip, it was getting too long, but he actually bet Keir Starmer 50 quid in the House.
Did he? I didn't see that.
It would come back on the 26th. Now, the 26th is the Tuesday, and the 29th, exit day, is on the Friday. So he was saying basically this will be Maastricht all over again, because when Maastricht happened in, whenever it was 92, was it? I can't remember. This is what happened. There was a last minute kind of...
Yes, that's right. When Major also had a wafer thin...
He's heard the way through.
Sorry, go on,
Say
Robin.
again.
Sorry, go on. But yes, but when Major had a wafer thin government to get Maastricht through.
Yeah, that's right. And it was kind of pushed through at the last minute through the lobbies. So yeah, so that's what the prediction is. That's what Marc Francois was suggesting is the sort of game plan here, is to, you can see that what happened last night in the votes was it went from being, 230 against a withdrawal agreement to a pretty much unchanged withdrawal agreement. Well, it was a totally unchanged withdrawal agreement, just with some, fairly flaky assurances.
Yes.
And it went down to 149. So the attempt, therefore, will be on the 26th to reduce that down to an extent where the government win it and it goes through, or the withdrawal agreement goes through. Now, there's so much gameplay going on here that it's very difficult to determine exactly what's going on behind the scenes, and there are lots of different motives from lots of different people playing out here. What's weird, though, is that Spellman thing this afternoon, why she was lent on to withdraw.
Now, let me get this right. So we've got the no deal, which is ambiguous.
It is.
And then we had other amendments as well, but one of them that have been selected by Burko, as I understand me, please correct me if I'm wrong, is Caroline Spellman's, which was basically that was a real no deal, as opposed to a maybe no deal amendment. No?
Yeah, that's right. So Caroline Spellman's amendment rejects no deal under any circumstances.
Right, right.
Explicit.
And so they're voting on that now, and this is frightening. They're about to announce the vote. This is it. This is the D-Day vote, isn't it? This is where we learn if our...
Again, it's only a motion, and a motion has no legal... well, it's not. The government aren't held to it, no. They could...
Nonetheless, she could
ignore
play
it,
with this. She could play with it if she wanted to. Is it for Parliament to be... Do you think that this is part of the democratic process that we're seeing here, or is Parliament overstretching its remit?
Well, I mean, there's an interesting point that was made in the debate earlier. Andrea Eagle on the Labour benches asked on a point of order. She asked the Speaker whether it was legitimate for the government to bring back the withdrawal agreement.
Yes.
Well, a second time as they did, let alone a third time.
Yes.
Because
that's right, she did. I heard that.
There is supposed to be a much longer period, I think usually a year, in which a government can bring back a vote on the same thing to Parliament, and that's something that Speaker said he is considering. So I think are we just about to get the results?
I think we probably are. Yeah. Let's. Yeah. Here we go.
Order!
We're wanting nays, aren't we?
Yeah, ideally. See what happens.
The ayes to the right, 312. The noes to the left, 308.
Struth. My word. Margin of 3 then.
The ayes to the right, 312. The noes to the left, 308. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock.
Okay, margin of 4, and that went to her amendment. So that means absolute no deal. But as you say, it's not binding.
Amendment F.
Is that correct?
In the name of the right
Yeah,
honourable
that's right.
member for Ashford, who moves it formally. The question is that Amendment F be made. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. Division! Clear the lobby!
Okay, F. F for Freddie.
Right.
What's this?
Okay, so this is the Malthouse Compromise. Now, what the Malthouse Compromise comprises is extending Article 50 until the 22nd of May. With a transition period, so we'd carry on being effectively members of the EU, but non-voting members, until 2021. We'd pay them £20 billion roughly for the privilege. That's the proposition.
On top of the 39.
Within that time, we would negotiate a free trade agreement with the EU. But if we couldn't negotiate one, then we would leave without one in 2021. So there'd be lots of preparation time for that. Now, I think this is very, very unlikely to pass. Could be wrong. Anything could happen today. It's one of those days. But that's what this amendment is now. So
Thank you. And that's 20 million on top of the 39 million, is it?
Billion.
Billion, sorry.
Yeah. What you said times 1,000, yeah. That's right.
I sound like Theresa May. I sound like Diane Abbott. Right, okay. So, right. So what does that mean, what we've just heard then? Caroline Spellman's amendment is not binding, but it is something presumably that the Prime Minister would feel duty-bound to consider. Or ought to, otherwise it wouldn't have, wasted the members' time. I would have thought that would be the protocol, no?
Yeah, maybe. And I just don't know how we're in such uncharted territory. I have no idea how this is going to play out, really.
But she could just ignore it. But she could just say, you know what, there's a lot of division. There's a lot of division. And this just goes to show how much division there is. But if she was true to her manifesto pledge, she would say, nevertheless, the closest match to leaving the EU, what was on the paper, is to go out on no deal on the 29th of March. She could still do that despite that last vote.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The vote passed. So
are you feeling ill or something, Robin? Are you enjoying this? This is just, I can't believe it.
As many as other opinions say aye. Of the contrary, no. Tellers for the ayes, Bill Wiggin and Marcus Fish. Tellers for the noes.
Hold on a sec. Sorry, can you clear me up on what's going on here, Robin?
I don't know. I can't hear it, so I don't know.
Oh, you can't hear that?
Well, I heard that little clip there, but I didn't hear anything else.
Okay, all right. Basically, Burko's I think he's announcing the folks that sort out the tellers. Exactly. Who are the tellers? Are they like the counters, or they're the people that actually say the result? I suppose. Yeah,
that's right. They deliver the result there. I'm not sure if they count it or... Yeah, I think they count it.
And what does the Speaker not decide who they are or finalise who they are until the division has been called? Is that the deal?
I'm sorry. I'm not your man on this level of detail.
No worries. Okay, all right. Right, let's take a few comments on YouTube. And hey, folks on YouTube, thanks very, very much indeed if you've made the effort over here from old Facebook, which is apparently down today or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot more people on Facebook than usual. So thank you, and please share this. Yeah, share this. Robin Horsley is here. Not only to talk about this as the result comes in and to analyse this, maybe with you folks on Discord, gov.ly/rant, but also to talk about the Department of Trade and Industry's announcement today regarding tariffs for the first year following no-deal Brexit or WTO Brexit. But anyway, right, okay, Axiom Curb is unable to share on Facebook. Yeah, Axiom, I think that's probably the case. A lot of folks, actually. Proud Infidel. We voted to leave the EU. Leave, then negotiate on an as-needed basis. And he also says, or she says, let's hope there's enough MPs with a spine to vote to keep the no deal on the table. And, well, that's, I guess, what we're going to find out about in just a minute. And that is what they're voting on now, Robin, yeah? This is presumably the government's motion they've gone out to vote on.
No, this is the Malthouse.
Oh, sorry, this is the Malthouse. Right, okay.
And then after that, they will vote on the overall motion.
Right.
So you attach the amendments to the motion first, and then you vote on the overall motion.
Right, okay. Now, go on, please.
So that amendment could be killed off if the motion fails.
Yeah, okay. Of course. Right. Okay. I'm learning here. Right. Okay. Facebook have a problem and are trying to fix it, says Helen Lasky Smith. Hey, Helen. God bless you. And Carl Jones, Facebook has been corrupted to hide the treason they are up to, probably. Axiom Curb community. If no deal is rejected and removed, then pitchforks be ready. It'll all start on Tommy's court date, 22nd, for a full week of chaos. Oh, my word, I tell you, it is going to be some chaos. Robin, are you planning to hang out in London on the 29th or do some of the march with Leave Means Leave or what?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think I'm going to wait and see how it progresses and what the mood is. I mean, I think things could get very, very ugly if we don't leave on March the 29th. I think things could get horribly, horribly ugly. I think we, as a few people have said, nobody really knows what's going to happen, what the reaction will be. But I think there are some people on the extremes, on our side, if you like, on the extremes, who I think would stop at very little if this doesn't go through. And I think we've got a real danger of massive, major civil unrest. I mean, an old friend of mine said to me weeks ago, he said, frankly, I just want to put on a yellow vest and go and smash the place up. Really? And this is quite a moderate guy, and I thought, God, if you're saying that, what are the more extreme people thinking? So it does worry me greatly. Yeah. If the government, if Parliament, which is really what it comes down to at the moment, if Parliament frustrate this, the outcome could be truly, truly appalling. We could have an absolute nightmare. And I think from my perspective on no deal is really that no deal will, be difficult. There'll be transitional problems because we'll be doing a transition to a no deal scenario in a very short space of time. Now, big businesses will have done lots and lots of contingency planning. They'll have put active things in place now, but there'll be other businesses that won't have done it adequately, I'm sure. And there will be some difficulties. I don't think those difficulties for a moment are going to be cause us really fundamental problems at all. And I think it's far less of an issue than what could happen if we don't leave. I think then we've got serious civil unrest problems. So yeah, I think it could be really ugly, Olly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've just lost the feed, folks. It clammed up, and obviously I want to get that back before we get the result. So
I've got another screen going here, Olly, so I can see what's happening. They're not back yet.
Good man.
If necessary, I can turn the sound up so you can at least hear it from my end.
Terrific. Okay, just I'll take a few more comments. If that result is about to go on and you don't hear the volume here, please pump it up your end.
I will.
That sounds very rude, doesn't it? I didn't mean it to sound rude like that. Helen Smith says, "How can they say honourable friends? Which one is honourable?" ? Is that going to give me? Yeah, there we go. I'm a few seconds behind, but it's basically about pretty much live. And the British Hive Mind says, "I believe Q and the team are behind it. Harold Chapman vomiting from too much Sourbury. Cappy-go-lucky. Facebook and Instagram has gone down." Helen Smith, Chris Ford High. Facebook has a problem. I couldn't all you in. Glad you're here. Love, L. And the British Hive Mind, take 2 minutes. You'll find no deal was the best way from the start. Why do you think the media narrative is dead against it? And there's a big announcement today, Robin, which maybe you can just tell us a little bit about, as I understand it, which really does back up what British Hive Mind, I think that's Dave Wolf, is saying there now.
We're talking about tariffs, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
The cunning fox. Yeah.
Should we start with the basics then? What are tariffs?
But yeah. Okay. Please. Yes.
Yeah. Really. Let's
Suits
really go
me.
through the basics for anybody who doesn't know how it works. So, effectively, if I export things to a country, let's say I export cabbages to another country, and that country produces cabbages itself, but I'm able to produce them cheaper than the farmers in that country. That country may impose a tariff on my cabbages. So from cabbages coming in from another country, they may say, okay, well, we're going to charge you a 20% tariff. So what that means is that I'll ship my cabbages to that country, and then whoever is importing them and paying me will pay me what I asked for my cabbages, plus they'll pay another 20% in the case of that. Yeah, that's how that would work.
And that's because they do that basically to help the domestic business and the local tax revenue as well, I guess.
Well, yeah, it becomes a bit of a trap for governments because they get rather used to having lots of revenue from tariffs and therefore are incentivized not always to make the best economic decisions.
Really?
If we go,
that sounds very EU. But anyway, carry on.
So let's just go all the way back to the 1600s to describe why tariffs are not a particularly good idea. If you look at the economics of any producer in any country, what makes sense is that if I can produce a product cheaper than you can, then it makes sense for me to sell you that product rather than you producing that product or attempting to produce that product yourself. You produce what you can do efficiently and trade it with me. So free trade between people will allow us to use the most efficient use of resources. Now, if we go back to Adam Smith, the first guy who was ever really recognised as being an economist in the 1600s, he gave this example. He said it would be perfectly possible in Scotland. Now, he was a Scot. Would be perfectly possible in Scotland for Scotland to become a major wine-producing country of the world. What we could do is we could build massive greenhouses, and we could heat these greenhouses, and we could grow vines in these greenhouses, and then we could press the grapes and make wine. But as he pointed out, the amount of resource that would go into that in order to produce a bottle of wine, those bottles of wine would be much, much more expensive than they would be if they were produced on French vineyards where they've got just natural soil conditions and sunshine that suit the growing of the vines. So obviously the cost of producing in Scotland would make it unrealistic. And that really encapsulates why it is better for countries to trade things that they can produce well and efficiently for things that they can't.
Yeah. Sounds like a good eco reasons as well.
I'm sorry.
Sounds like there are eco reasons as well. Just, instead of flying stuff over from the other side of the world.
Well, no. I mean, no. In fact, what it means is that in many ways you are moving goods across the world because of that. Because actually transport costs are quite low, and then you get into the whole argument of what is the true cost of transportation when you take into account the sort of carbon footprint for that, moving that stuff around. That's when it becomes more complex. But anyway, let's just leave that aside for a minute.
Yep.
The point that we're making here is that what happened with tariffs arise when you're trying to protect producers in a particular country or in a particular trading area or customs union. So what the EU does is it erects a tariff wall around the European Union and charges relatively high tariffs on some goods. So, for example, on a bottle of wine, there's an external tariff of 32% on a bottle of wine. So people in Australia and New Zealand who are producing wine have to ship it from the other side of the world to the UK. And when it arrives in the UK, we have to charge a 32% tariff. That 32%, 80% of that money goes to Brussels. We keep 20% handling fee, if you like. And then it comes in, and then the bottles of wine come into us. And you'll notice on the supermarket shelves that you buy a £5 bottle of Australian wine and a £5 bottle of French wine. They're fairly similar kind of quality for the money. Yeah. So that tells you that the French bottle of wine, which doesn't have any tariff applied on it, they're not producing it as efficiently as the Australians can. And that's why they impose tariffs, to try and protect their producers. But as I've illustrated with the Adam Smith example, that really doesn't make a lot of practical sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't drive. If you put tariffs up, it doesn't drive efficiency. It doesn't create the motive for people to produce efficiently. They just sit behind the tariff wall, taking their kind of protected income, if you like. So tariffs are not a good idea for efficient use of resources. Now, what the government have announced today, so that's kind of how tariffs work, okay?
Right.
Now, what the government announced today, or the Department of International Trade announced today, so Liam Fox's department, was that they plan to have zero tariffs on 87% of imports if we go out of the EU without a deal at all, in a no-deal scenario.
Now hold on, Robin, hold that.
I think we're just getting a result.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
You go down.
The ayes to the right, 164. The noes to the left, 374.
Yeah, definitely.
Massive defeat on the whatnot.
Ayes to the right, 164. The noes to the left, 374. So the noes have it. The noes have it. Unlock. Order. The question is the main motion as amended. That is to say, as amended by Amendment A. The question is the main motion as amended. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. No.
Wow.
Division!
Oh, come on. Was that a division? That sounded like a big no to me. I thought that sounded like a big no, and I wonder if Burko just pushed his position a wee bit there. I don't know. That I know that they fight for decibels with those things, but nonetheless, they were both probably a bit shouty, and the no was definitely a bigger charge. But anyway, they're voting now. This is going to be turned down, isn't it? This is going to be voted right out of the House. No, this is the government's motion, Robin. Yeah.
No, I think it.
Do you not?
May pass.
You think it may pass, but it carries the Caroline Spellman amendment, which means that there would be an absolute no-deal amendment to this motion. You think it might? You think it could pass?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'll just have to see.
We'll just have to see.
I'm just watching the people in the House at the moment. I was just a second ago watching Owen Patterson, and I think I couldn't quite see the other person, and they were looking very, very worried at that moment.
Really? Well,
yeah.
That was the Malthouse compromise that just failed, and it was trashed after all that. It should have done a lot better than that, shouldn't it? Was it not a better compromise than we've seen otherwise?
Because the Malthouse Compromise is an idea, but there's no indication that the EU would find that acceptable at all. What's really interesting, I mean, just a bit of an aside on this, okay? But whilst this will be quite a long period now.
Yeah.
So let's just we can come back to the tariff thing in a minute, can't we?
Yeah.
So let's just talk about what's going on now. So if you think about it, this motion today is really a pathway towards the government's next step tomorrow. Now, tomorrow the vote is to whether or not the government should seek a delay or an extension, effectively, of Article 50. And that's not timescale, but whether or not they should seek an extension. So whether they should ask the EU for an extension. Now, again, it's not completely meaningful because the EU, we don't know what the EU are going to say, and it's not timescale. So are we talking about an extension of a couple of months, like in the Malthouse Compromise, or are we talking about a couple of years? Does that mean we're going to have European elections? Well, there's a court case that's leave means leave are ready to bring, if necessary, to ensure that we do have
Robin, one
European
sec.
elections.
Say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. No. Tellers.
No, sorry, that's just the tellers again. I apologise.
Yeah.
Robin, please carry on.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, where were we? Yeah. So if they, the vote tomorrow will be about whether or not they seek an extension of Article 50. Let's say, for example, that Article 50 is there is an extension of Article 50 requested. All of the EU 27 countries have got to agree to that if it's to occur. Now, the story that's been floating around on the sidelines from Nigel Farage and Aaron Banks and these guys, the old Leave.eu guys who go back to 2016, is that they've done a deal with the Italians, the Italian government, to block that. So the Italian government, which is populist government, are supposedly they're trying to line up the Italian government to block that. Now, I don't know how they would absolutely secure that, because I'm sure the EU's pockets are deeper than Aaron Banks's pockets, so I don't know how they'll absolutely secure that. But that's quite an interesting dimension in this.
It is.
I mean, this is such
a fascinating
game of chess.
story. It is a fascinating story. In fact, I pulled it up earlier, but then when I had those technical problems, I seem to have lost it now in my news tabs. But yes, so basically that story. Now, Aaron Banks, I looked at his account on Twitter earlier, and he denied this on there. He said that was a conspiracy theory or something. But the fact is that they did they actually meet Salvini last week?
I don't know. I think there's a piece in the Guardian which suggests this is what's going on. But I mean, to be honest, there are so many. They get very carried away, to be honest, and sort of add ideas together and come up with, add 2 and 2 together and come up with 67. So you never quite know. But what's more indicative, I think, is what Farage said, which I can't tell you where to find it, but I saw it earlier today that Farage was indicating that was the case. Whether or not Aaron Banks is directly tied up in that or not, I don't know.
I'll give a bit of background from a Guardian story. Brexiters lobby for European veto of Article 50 extension. Veto by countries such as Italy or Poland could lead to a no-deal Brexit this month. Well, as I understand it, it would lead to a no-deal Brexit, but this is the Guardian reporting this. Leading Eurosceptics are lobbying right-of-centre governments in Europe to see if they would veto a British extension of Article 50 and so ensure the UK drops out of the EU at the end of the month without a deal. In theory, only one country is required to wield its veto for any British request to be rejected. It is highly unlikely this lobbying will succeed, says The Guardian, as the governments in countries such as Hungary, Italy and Poland have other more important battles to fight with the EU, but the lobbying underlines the precariousness of the British position. Leave EU touted its connections with Eurosceptic forces in Europe on Wednesday, tweeting, "The British establishment could do well to remember the Eurosceptic scene is a close-knit group across the continent and on the rise. Now, some Some are now in power. If our politicians betray Brexit and vote for delay, Matteo Salvini can defend the 17.4 million and veto. Salvini is Italy's deputy prime minister and a Eurosceptic. It really, I shared that earlier. I got very excited. I imagine a lot of people did, Robin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how relevant that becomes, whether or not they can really be depended on. There's a lot of ifs there.
There are,
but yeah, it could become significant. Let's see how the vote comes in about 5 minutes, and we'll know.
Yeah, it is incredible, isn't it? It is absolutely. I don't understand how we're discussing these kind of things with, maybe Poland can let us off the hook. Maybe Orban can or something. It is absolutely crazy that we cannot rely on our own parliament to secure what the British public wanted, it seems to me, and that we're hoping beyond hope that there are similar mindsets across the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
Let's take a few comments and see what people have got to say. Now, Christine Ford, I noticed earlier. Chris, hey Chris, popped over from Facebook, and thank you. That she wasn't sure what was going on with the no deal. Well, we're about to find out, Chris, a bit more. So we don't actually know yet, but we do know that, well, anyway, yeah, we'll find out a bit more in a minute. The British hive mind, chaos is the last thing we want. It smells Hegelian dialectic. Their solution is the EU army on our streets. Burko's having a bit of a shout out, but I don't think he's quite yet. Carl Jones, that would be domestic terrorism, not till 11 p.m. 29th of March, then lawful rebellion. Christine Ford, we're all learning, aren't we? When this is done, we all deserve a degree. Yeah, I think we do. Stav Woodcutter, the EU is having votes today preparing for a no deal. They were, and just as a bit of an aside, and just a couple of other things that were going on today as well. This is Express Brexit earlier. They were saying, like Titanic, voting for iceberg, Brussels mocks no deal Brexit vote. Top EU negotiator has mocked Britain's attempts to find a way to break the Brexit deadlock and suggested the Commons was divorced from reality. This struck me as being something that I thought it was, I don't know, it seemed like an interesting thing to play earlier. Is it going to play? Let's see if it's going to play.
I'm just getting some news from somebody that...
Go on.
I'm just getting some news from somebody texting me saying that there have been some ministerial resignations.
Really?
Don't know who. Don't know where this news is coming from. Don't know. This could be sort of inside track stuff. I'm not quite sure. It just could be news.
Wow. Wow. Never mind that guy in Brussels. Who cares about him? Yeah, guess what? They don't want Brexit. Wow. That, yeah. Now, blimey.
And there were 4 ministers were granted abstentions on Spellman. So,
really? So who would that be then? That would be the likes of Amber Rudd, presumably, that was saying, look, we're going to vote for that. We want an absolute assurance of no deal, of their no deal being taken off the table.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, if any more of that we want to know. But I'm kind of, I don't know, would it be resignations from Remainers or Brexiteers? Kind of depends on how they were being whipped or not today, I suppose, by the government.
Well, it would suggest that they were Remainers who were saying that they wanted to vote. They wanted to vote against the government.
Yeah, that's right.
And that they were, rather than having to resign to do so, they agreed to abstain. And the result, therefore, was, well, there were 4 in it and 4 ministers involved, so it would have been a draw had they accepted the whip. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's very messy.
They wouldn't have.
What I gather, Jacob Rees-Mogg is saying that, the votes are advisory. The law remains. We leave on the 29th. He seems pretty chilled out about it, but there's some speculation that she might pull the vote on Thursday, not have the vote on Thursday. I think that would cause uproar in the Commons, but...
So that's the extension to Article 50 vote tomorrow. And
yeah, that's right.
There's
I'm not sure
speculation
on what
she might... Okay, so the latest on the Express, no deal Brexit rejected. They're saying MPs vote against leaving EU with no deal under any circumstances. That actually is not correct yet. That's incorrect. No, I think as of now. Go on, Robin.
That's right. I thought they were coming back. They're not quite. They're nearly there, I think.
I think the Express have jumped the gun a bit with that headline. I think that's clickbait at this stage. We don't know, do we? Am I wrong, Robin? We don't know until they come back from this motion. Yeah. Okay. See if there's any gossip on Guido. Oh, look at that! Cyril Smith and Steele were on the top of their thing. They had a blimey.
That David Steele knew about Cyril Smith.
David Steele, decades ago, said that all Cyril Smith had been caught doing was smacking little boys' bottoms a bit. What was the harm of that sort of thing? That was his... I may be paraphrasing slightly. He did say smacking little boys' bottoms in such a way as to say, so what? So now, this is a big story in that case, possibly. Today at the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, the IICSA, which has been knocked right off the news running order, has it not? Because there was another story, a big story about Morrison yesterday, Peter Morrison, under Thatcher's government, who apparently was a right-raving pedo. Anyway, Lord Steele has admitted under oath that Cyril Smith confessed to him in 1979 that child abuse allegations against him were true. Steele admitted he still did nothing about it and made no effort to investigate whether Smith posed any continuing risk to children. Wow, that's a pretty big story, Robin. Obviously, he's out of politics now, but he's still a lord, isn't he?
Yeah.
Should he be a lord? Yet on Newsnight last year, Steele described the allegations as scurrilous hearsay.
Yeah.
So he's changed his tune.
Now hang on a sec.
They're coming back, are they?
Pete, what I'm getting from a bit of inside track is apparently the Prime Minister is now whipping against her own motion. Right, so she's put forward a motion, and she's now whipping against the motion. So so what's been happening is the whips have been. I thought that was probably what was going on at the time. The whips have been trying to prevent people voting for the government's own motion.
And that presumably is because she doesn't like the result of Caroline Spellman's amendment.
Exactly. So she doesn't want to get it carried through with that amendment. And this is really sort of, I think what the amendment is doing is exposing the government's real kind of agenda. Getting back to this Larry the Cat problem. Nobody knows, not even Larry the Cat. We've talked about that before. And I think what this amendment has done is expose what the government's position really is, because, as I say, the Prime Minister's has been whipping against her own motion now. So that's really interesting.
Unbelievable. I think we're going to get an announcement any time now, and we're going to get a result.
I think so, yeah.
But, blimey. And so, yeah, when you said she was whipping, I thought you were going to say something about David Steele, but maybe not.
No, well.
Hold on, here he goes. Come on, Burko.
Go on, put some sound on, Ollie.
No, it's on. He's very hushed in there. Yeah. He's very hushed. My word.
No, we're on a delay there.
Oh, am I? Oh, blimey. Hold on. Okay, here it is.
The ayes to the right, 321. The noes to the left, 278.
The government won it. So she whipped against, and yet she won it anyway. They won it anyway. That's the deal, no? So, according to that...
321. The noes to the left, 278. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock.
So hold on a sec. Isn't that democracy broken? Isn't that democracy now is officially broken right now? Does that not take us into totally new territory? let's have a listen to this. Point of order from the Prime Minister.
Provided a clear majority against leaving without a deal. However, I will repeat what I have said before.
Can't hear her.
You can't hear.
The House must calm itself. Long time to go.
Can you not hear that, Robin?
Yeah, I can now. Yeah.
Keep calm. The Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, these are about the choices that this House faces. The legal default in UK and EU law remains that the UK will leave the EU without a deal unless something else is agreed. The onus is now on every one of us in this House to find out what that is. The options before us are the same as they always have been. We could leave with the deal which this government has negotiated over the past 2 years. We could leave with the deal we have negotiated but subject to a second referendum, but that would risk no Brexit at all. Damaging the fragile trust between the British public damaging the fragile trust between the British public and the members of this House. We could seek to negotiate a different deal. However, the EU has been clear that the deal on the table is indeed the only deal available. Mr. Speaker, I also confirmed last night...
Order. The great likelihood, I await further comment, but I think I can say this without fear of contradiction, is that there will be further opportunities for these matters to be debated. But in the immediate term, please, let us have some courtesy. Of that I think we can be sure. There will be further debate on these matters. The Prime Minister...
Of course, the public had the debate 2.5 years ago and made a decision then.
The House declined to approve leaving without a deal on the 29th of March 2019. The Government would bring forward a motion on whether the House supports seeking to agree an extension to Article 50 with the EU, which is the logical consequence of the votes over the past 2 days in this House. The Leader of the House will shortly make an emergency business statement confirming the change to tomorrow's business. The motion we will table will set out the fundamental choice facing this House. If the House finds a way in the coming days to support a deal, it would allow the Government to seek a short, limited technical extension to Article 50 to provide time to pass the necessary legislation and ratify the agreement we have reached with the EU. But let me be clear, such a short technical extension is only likely to be on offer if we have a deal in place. Therefore, the House has to understand and accept that if it is not willing to support a deal in the coming days, and as it is not willing to support leaving without a deal on the 29th of March, then it is suggesting that there will need to be a much longer extension to Article 50. Such an extension would undoubtedly require the United Kingdom to hold European Parliament elections in May 2019. I do not think that would be the right outcome. But the House needs to face up to the consequences of the decisions it has taken.
Yeah, they do. At the next GE, at the next general election. Christine Ford says, confirmed, we are not leaving.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's just hear Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, tonight this House has once again definitely ruled out no deal. The Prime Minister said the choice was between her deal and no deal. In the last 24 hours, Parliament has decisively rejected both her deal and no deal. While an extension of Article 50 is now inevitable, the responsibility of that extension lies solely and squarely at the Prime Minister's door. But, Mr. Speaker, extending Article 50 without a clear objective is not a solution. Parliament must now take control of the situation. In the days that follow, Mr. Speaker, myself, the Shadow Brexit Secretary and others will have meetings with members across the House to find a compromise solution that can command support in the House. This means, Mr. Speaker, doing what the Prime Minister failed to do 2 years ago in searching for a consensus on the way forward.
I don't think he's saying anything he hasn't said for the last 2 years.
No, but I mean, what it amounts to is he's saying, okay, so the government can't do this, so Parliament have got to do this. And this all comes back down to the sort of argument about are the people sovereign and are Parliament sovereign? Sovereignty means ultimate power. Who has ultimate power? Well, when Parliament have given the question to the people, then the people are sovereign. The people are sovereign at a general election or a referendum.
Yes.
And a referendum, we made our sovereign choice. People say that it was the referendum was advisory only. Well, the word advisory doesn't appear in the EU referendum Act 2015.
That's right.
As people are saying in the comments here, I was just saw somebody saying that, it's out on the 29th or it's lawful rebellion. That's the worry, is that is what a lot of people are going to feel is their only recourse if Parliament do this. And I think members of Parliament,
go on.
We have a good system in as much as MPs are regularly in touch with their constituents. Every MP has a constituency surgery every 2 or 3 weeks, and meets constituents. And they meet constituents who've got problems, so they get in touch with really the people who are suffering from social problems that politicians should be aware of. However, because politicians only see a small proportion of their constituents, they can often delude themselves that the people that they see are unrepresentative. And they can also, because they're making decisions based on a sort of summary of communications, how many emails they've had on this subject, it can be a very distorted view. And I think members of Parliament, after a certain period of time in Parliament, they have a certain sort of arrogance about their position. They feel that, they're in a better position to make the decisions than the people are. Mm-hmm. And so therefore their decisions are the ones that should have weight. And thus we get into this whole argument about parliamentary sovereignty as opposed to the people being sovereign. And this is the real worry at this moment, I think, is that what is likely to happen here is a massive backlash. Really, we've got a very difficult time now between now and the 29th, but possibly even longer. And I think the real problem is that if we extend beyond March the 29th, I mean, that's just going to get very, very messy.
Going to get extraordinarily messy with the EU elections, isn't it?
And it's going to get very messy economically, because if we go beyond that, we've got, a lot of companies, as I say, I think there are companies who may not have, made adequate provision because they won't know what the ramifications are going to be. They haven't, been through it, but all, major businesses will have done so, will have done their contingency planning properly. CEOs of major companies are not idiots. They'll have done their work. So there will be some disruption if we leave on March the 29th. But the bigger disruption, the bigger risk, is what happens if we just have this economic uncertainty going on for a couple of months. Is bad enough, but even longer it could be the case. People are sitting on their hands.
Robin.
People are sitting on their hands not making decisions.
Just one sec. I just want to hear...
Yeah.
Events take in the days to come. I don't want to express myself more forcefully than that, and I don't think that would be right. But the right honourable gentleman need be in no doubt that these matters will be fully debated, and members will have the
considering procedure
to put their point of view, and in all likelihood, many propositions...
Robin, are you okay for another 15-20 minutes tonight?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's carry on. Yeah.
Good man. Thank you.
Gentlemen, forgive me. I'll just take the point of order first from Mr. Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Point of order from Rees-Mogg, yeah.
I wonder if you might be in a position to confirm that as a matter of constitutional fact, a motion of this House, though important, cannot override statute law.
A motion of the House does not override statute law. That is true. If members who have supported a motion want to ensure its ultimate success, further steps are required. And I think members who have keenly attended to these...
Just imagine if the mainstream media was interested in analysing what happened today instead of just celebrating it.
...to them if they wish to take those opportunities. Yes,
So
point
what is,
of order, Mr.
what is
Hilary Benn.
Go on, yeah.
So what the Speaker is indicating there...
Let's listen quickly to Hilary Benn, Robin, as well.
The time has come for two things to take place. The first is for the government to respect the democratic instruction of the...
Oh, blimey. OK, he's talking through his whatnot. Sorry, Robin, carry on. You're going to get more sense from you, sir.
OK.
What
the Speaker was indicating there was...
Right.
Other steps would have to be taken, I think, were his words. And what he was suggesting was that the parliamentary arithmetic would potentially change. Now, we've got 4 ministers tonight. Rudd, Gawke, Mundell and Greg Clark, the business minister, I think.
Right.
They all abstained from the vote. So if they resign and join
the
Tiggers
or something.
The TIG, yeah, the independent group or the
Chuck Up Party.
The parliamentary independent group, the Pigs.
Yeah.
Then that could cause a problem because then they, together with the SNP and all the other parties, the Labour Party and everything, could have a vote of no confidence and potentially defeat the government. It's getting very, very, very tight now, the numbers in Parliament.
Yeah.
This is becoming, you've got other people on top of that. You've got, you've got other people in Parliament who are on the wobble as well, on the Conservative benches. So, yeah, it could get very, very difficult. I think people are wondering whether or not she's going to last the week out, really.
That's the other thing. And I was hearing on PM earlier, they were saying that there was a very crisp cabinet meeting this morning. It was quite what was the word? Lively, anyway. And there is a distinct possibility that she might have to go now. Brady yesterday, the top geezer at the 1922, he said he was on Newsnight. I was very surprised. He's quite quiet, isn't he? But he got excited and he wanted to say something. And he said, "We must not vote for this motion." He said, didn't he? I think that's what he said on Newsnight last night. He said, we mustn't vote for the government's motion, despite the fact that Theresa May had just presented it at the dispatch box, or said that she would be presenting it today, which he did. He said on Newsnight, he came out and he said, no, we should not be backing that. So there is a massive, massive ruction. I don't know if you mentioned the problems that Major had getting Maastricht through. It seems to me, that's actually perfect, isn't it? That's where we are, aren't we? That is how tight this is and how broken this government is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he got that through, though. He got that through.
It is so tight, and MPs have become deluded in their, it really is a rotten parliament. MPs have become utterly deluded.
Just one sec, Robin. Let's hear Ken Clark, Chief Bilderberger.
Another day to say whether an extension was desired by the House, with the plain implication that the government was going to accept the decision of the House and act on it. Indeed,
he just thinks we're all a bunch of silly plebs, though, that shouldn't be listened to. That's his opinion, and he says it quite openly.
He does. Yeah.
In fairness to him, at least I think his constituency voted to stay in the EU, unlike those of his henchmen like Dominic Grieve and Soubry. Christine Ford says rioting will bring a state of emergency. The EU security will be a flash mob called in. Harold Chapman, when I wrote to my MP, I got a cut and paste response. Happy-go-lucky, well, Soubry and that other muppet declared the people aren't important and they're not afraid of them. The British hive mind, Labour MPs in Muslim strongholds laugh at our complaints. Axiom Curb community, Robin has to be the most sensible guest you have had. I think he knows where this will go. but wouldn't want to have it confirmed. Not a nice thought, is it? Yeah, Robin, I've heard that you're quite popular, sir. It's good to have your input on the show. It really is. The British hive mind. How dare they mention the Constitution? And Dr. Dawson, we need to know where these people live and if 5G is going to be in their community. 5G, another massive subject. Ruth Miller, Jacob Rees-Mogg should take over. Amanda Rolfson, found you. 4 people abstained from voting. Yeah, no, we're not on Facebook tonight. I know Facebook seems to have trashed itself or something. 4 people abstained from voting. Yeah, as Robin has been explaining. Labour and others have done tactile voting. If I have that correct, Barnier says today, no extension. Hell, what a mess. Let's just see.
Intended, that was what was promised, that was what was understood. And I'm sure that I have every expectation that the Leader of the House will reiterate today what's been said in recent days. It would be very strange if that weren't the case, but I have no reason to believe that the government has suddenly shifted from the position it's taken in recent days. I've no reason.
It sounds to me as though they are still trying to sell their deal, and that somehow this is another way to say to the Commons, you know what, it's my deal or it's no Brexit. It's as simple as that. No.
Well, I think no. I think what's going on actually is that there is concern that the government are just trying to run out the clock and leave with no deal, and coming up with withdrawal agreements that are just unpalatable to a majority of people in the House, and therefore would leave by default. And they're trying to block that exit route. I think that's really what's going on. I think that's what you think. Hold on,
let me get that right, Robin. You're saying that you think what Theresa May's doing is using the withdrawal bill, such a ridiculous text, as a way to ensure that we do end up with no deal on the 29th of March.
Well, that's what they're trying to determine, I think.
Okay? Hold on. Look, Angela Eagle. She brought up that point of order.
The government will not get its way.
Well, I'm grateful to the Right Honourable Lady. My understanding is that the government has tabled its motion for tomorrow, and it might help colleagues if they...
That's the extension of Article 50.
I don't think it's for me now to read out the government's motion for tomorrow. No.
Yeah, good idea. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Very well.
Yeah.
As I understand it, the government, in the name of the Prime Minister, and I thank the government for this, is tabling, or has tabled, a motion in the name of the Prime Minister that this House notes the resolutions of the House of the 12th and 13th of March, and accordingly agrees the government will seek to agree with the European Union an extension of the period specified in Article 50, subsection 3, agrees that if the House has passed a resolution approving the negotiated withdrawal agreement of the framework for the future relationship for the purposes of section 13(1)(b) of the European Union Withdrawal Act 2018 by 20th March 2019, that the government will seek to agree with the European Union a one-off extension of the period specified in Article 50, subsection 3, for a period ending on the 30th of June 2019 for the purpose of passing the necessary EU exit legislation, and notes that if the House has not passed a resolution approving the negotiated withdrawal agreement and the framework for the future relationship for the purposes of section 13(1)(b) of the European Union Withdrawal Act 2018 by the 20th of March 2019, then it is highly likely the European Council at its meeting the following day would require a clear purpose for any extension, not least to determine its length, and any extension beyond the 30th of June 2019 would require the United Kingdom to hold European Parliament elections in May 2019. That is the order. That is the government's motion on the paper for tomorrow. That motion, of course, is amendable. That motion is amendable. So if colleagues on either side or in any part of the House wish to submit amendments,
Robin, your thoughts?
Motion, they will have an opportunity to do so. And I'm speaking...
I think I just heard somebody in the House say
rubbish.
June.
And yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're saying rubbish, aren't
which
they?
Which is my reaction as well. I thought it was the motion would be... I mean, so the implication of that is that if Parliament were to vote for it tomorrow night, they would be seeking an extension to the 30th of June. The implication of that date would be that we would have to take part in European elections.
Yep.
If we took part in European elections, I mean, the Brexit Party will now be, the photocopiers will be whirring that people will be sitting at computers now at this instant.
Yeah, they probably are.
Preparing for them because, and I think the reason the government have put the motion forward in that way, with that specific wording, is to try and disincentivise the House for doing it, doing it.
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just
if that occurs,
let's hear a bit of the tone of the House from.
I will take one who signalled to me, the Honourable Lady, the member for Wakefield, and then let's hear the statement by.
I'll tell you what, anybody that thinks politics is boring,
I can take them.
Point of order,
Mary Craig.
Grateful, Mr. Speaker, but the business motion that you've just read out at speed indicates that the government is clearly making this House a prisoner of its deal, because what it is saying is that we have to agree the deal by the 20th of March, and if we do that, we get the extension that this House is clearly going to be voting for tomorrow. When will the government allow this House to express any alternatives to the deal that the Prime Minister, despite having been defeated twice, is still trying to railroad through this place?
And that is one of the merits of hearing about the business for next week, and there is also merit in colleagues conferring with each other, as, not surprisingly and with frequency, they do. Very well. Point of order, Anna Soubry.
Anna
it is a
Soubry,
constitutional crisis, and I'm sorry if it bores people on that side of the House who have just voted as Conservatives for a no-deal Brexit. But in any event, Mr. Speaker, there is a real concern that time and again this House speaks, and we vote as you have seen this evening, and the response at the dispatch box is in effect for what we pass to be utterly dismissed. And somehow, Mr. Speaker, we seek your guidance as a House as to how...
Yeah. Now, hold on a sec. She reckons that they just voted for a no-deal Brexit. Surely the opposite is true, if anything. But
well, no. What she's saying is that the Conservatives voted for no deal because there were 308 votes against the motion. Yeah,
right.
So they were.
Oh, I'm okay. Again, right. Oh, yeah. No, hold on a sec. The motion just went through. Oh, no. What am I saying?
Yeah, that's right. But it went through. But remember, the Prime Minister's whipping against her motion in the end because of the amendment.
So she's complaining that there wasn't a bit. Okay, all right.
Yeah, somebody in the comments had just said there's an MP has resigned. Who's that? Okay. I don't know who that is. I'll have to. But I mean, this is potentially what happens now.
This is what's going to happen tonight. Fingers crossed. Who knows? If we're really, really lucky, she'd quit, but she's not going to, is she? Robin, are you about tomorrow by any chance? Do you want to take this up? It's like a sequel tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I don't know that we're going to learn a lot more tonight. I want to ask you more about the trade deal ramifications as well. Except that now, if what happened tonight was applied, then those trade ramifications are null and void anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, what the trade ramifications were, it makes a no-deal scenario far better.
Yes.
With the specifics of that was trailed last week or the week before, but it would make no deal a lot better scenario and would take away some of the concerns that a lot of people had about prices increasing and all that. Not the case at all. Prices of anything would fall overall. Some people predict that the pound would fall so much that it would more than overcome the benefits of that. But I don't see that being true at all. The price is already in the market. Largely for that, it might fall a bit.
Robin.
Yeah.
Listen, you know I've got a bit of a weak bladder. Yeah.
Go on.
I'll tell you what. Right. Okay. Tomorrow, folks. Hold on a sec. Why is my thing? It's all screen. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Yeah. Tomorrow, folks. We're back. Back tomorrow. Yeah. 7:00.
He may well feel he is, and he is deeply attuned to the will of the people.
Oh dear. Right, I want to say a big cheers to Robin Horsley for popping in tonight from the Great Brexit Debate and the Bruges Group. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, sir. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll have a chat. And hopefully Facebook will be back as well. I've been Olly Connelly. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy. And for crying out loud, oh dear. Yeah, more analysis tomorrow. Ciao.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I needed that. I really needed to take a pee there. I want to say big cheers to everybody on YouTube for all of your comments and for finding us as well. Thanks for finding us from if you were on Facebook earlier. And oh, look at that. That's the bloke, the burger bloke. Sausage Sarnie boy. What's the betting his brother will be back in British politics within another few years, trying to sell us Blairism. Yeah, God bless you, folks. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy.